Lyra walked on the long dust trail with slow, tired steps. The sky above her was bright but harsh, and the wind carried small grains of sand that touched her face like tiny needles. Her legs hurt, her throat was dry, and she kept trying to keep up with the small transport wagon moving ahead. The wagon belonged to her stepmother, and Lyra followed it the same way she had followed it every day for months. She hoped quietly that maybe today her stepmother would let her sit inside for a little while. But deep down, she knew that would not happen. Her stepmother never looked back. She held the controls of the wagon with both hands, eyes fixed forward, as if she did not even remember a child was walking behind. Lyra kept her eyes on the metal wheels rolling over the dusty ground and tried not to think too much about the distance. She had learned long ago that thinking about her pain only made it worse. They were traveling across the outer lands of frontier planet Ravel, a place known for huge open fields, wide empty skies, and strong weather. People who lived there were hard-working and tough because the land demanded it. Lyra was small and thin, but she had learned to be tough too. She had learned it because she had no choice. Her stepmother had taken her in after her father passed away. But life after that had slowly become cold. Lyra did not understand why. She helped with every chore. She never complained. But still, her stepmother seemed annoyed by her presence, as if Lyra was simply one more thing she had to carry. It was not something Lyra liked to think about. But she understood enough. She was not wanted. The wagon moved faster as the wind picked up. Lyra lifted her head. Far in the distance, she saw dust rising into the sky like a swirling brown cloud. A sandstorm. A dangerous one. She had seen storms before, but this one looked heavy. It was the kind that could make the air thick and hide everything from sight. Lyra hurried her steps. Please slow down. She whispered, though she knew her stepmother could not hear. Or maybe she could hear, but did not care. Lyra called louder, her voice breaking slightly. Please. The storm. The wagon did not stop. The storm grew closer and closer. Lyra's heart began to beat faster. She wrapped her arms around herself and tried to stay near the trail line. She kept hoping the wagon would slow down, turn around, or at least wait for her. But instead, her stepmother pushed the controls forward, and the wagon sped away, its engines humming louder as it entered the thickening dust. Lyra watched the wagon disappear into the rising storm. One moment it was there, and the next it was swallowed by the swirling sand. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked hard, trying to see something through the dust. Nothing, only empty land and the storm rolling over it. The wind grew stronger around her, pushing sand against her clothes and hair. She took a step forward, then another, following the direction the wagon had taken. She called again, louder this time. Wait. I'm here, please. There was no answer, only the sound of the blowing wind. For a moment, she felt afraid, a deep fear that made her chest tighten. She had been left behind, alone. The storm was coming fast. She could not run fast enough to catch the wagon. She knew it. But she also knew standing still would not help her. So she kept walking, one slow step at a time, the wind nearly pushing her backward. Minutes felt like hours. The dust now covered the world around her. She could see only a few steps in front of her. She pulled her shirt collar over her mouth to keep the sand from getting in her throat. She lowered her head and kept moving. She remembered her father telling her long ago, if you ever get caught in bad weather, keep walking, but stay calm. Panic will only make you weak. His voice echoed in her mind, warm and strong. She held on to that memory like a small light. She used it to push her fear away. The storm became thicker. The air felt heavy. The sky darkened. Lyra began to cough as the sand touched her lips. She wished for shelter. Any shelter. A rock, a small wall, even a broken wagon to hide behind. But the trail had nothing. Only open land stretching to the horizon. She wondered if this was the end of the trail for her. But even then, she did not stop. She kept walking. A sound echoed through the thick dust. At first she thought it was the storm itself, but then she heard it against something deeper, stronger. Like the roar of a machine moving fast, she lifted her head. A shape appeared through the storm. Large, tall, moving toward her, Her heart pounded. She squinted. A hover horse. The shape became clearer. A big mechanical horse, wider and taller than any earth horse, built for fast travel and strength. It glided over the ground with powerful engines and metal legs that adjusted to the rough trails. Only wealthy ranchers own such machines. The hover horse slowed, its lights cutting through the dust. The rider leaned forward, trying to see through the storm. As he came close, Lyra saw a broad-shouldered man sitting tall in the saddle. His coat was thick and protective, built for dangerous weather. The dust did not seem to bother him at all. He stopped the hover horse directly in front of Lyra. She stood still, half scared, half relieved. The man looked down at her. His eyes were sharp, steady, and full of concern. "What are you doing out here alone?" he asked, his voice deep but gentle. Lyra opened her mouth, but no sound came out at first. Her throat felt dry. She tried again. I was following the wagon. Then the storm came. I tried to keep up. "Where's the wagon now?" he asked. She shook her head. "I don't know. It's gone." The man frowned. Not with anger, more with disbelief, as if he could not understand how someone could leave a child. Alone on a trail during a storm, he climbed down from the hover horse and walked toward her. He moved with a calm strength, not rushing, not slowing. When he reached her, he knelt slightly, so his face was closer to hers. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head again. "Just tired." He nodded and opened a small container from his belt. He handed her water. She drank slowly, feeling the cool liquid wash away the dryness in her throat. When she handed the container back, he gave a small smile. "My name is Holt Merrick," he said. "I own the Merrick Ranch up north. It's a safe place. I can take you there until the storm passes." Lyra looked up at him with wide eyes. She knew the name. Everyone on frontier planet Ravel knew the name. Holt Merrick was the wealthiest cowboy on the planet. Not because he was greedy, people said, but because he worked hard, treated others fairly, and always helped those in need. Even children in the small towns spoke of him with admiration. She nodded quietly. Holt lifted her gently and placed her on the hover horse in front of him. She held on to the front bars as he climbed behind her. He wrapped one arm around her lightly, not tightly, just enough to keep her safe from falling. The hover horse started forward, moving smoothly even through the storm. Holt guided it with precise movements, avoiding the thickest areas of swirling dust. Lyra felt safer than she had felt in a long time. The hum of the machine was steady, and Holt's presence behind her felt like a shield against the wild weather. She did not know how long they traveled. The dust slowly cleared as they moved north. The sky lightened. The wind calmed. The storm looked smaller behind them, a dark cloud moving away. Holt tapped the hover horse lightly, and the machine increased its speed. Soon, the land ahead became more colorful green fields, rolling hills and large fences stretching far across the open plains. Lyra had never seen anything like it. Holt's ranch was enormous. Machines moved across the land in smooth patterns, tending to crops and animals. Workers rode hover horses and drones zipped through the air. Holt slowed the hover horse as they approached a huge EGC barn built with strong metal beams and sunlight panels. He stopped near the entrance and helped Lyra down gently. She looked around with wide eyes. Everything felt warm compared to the cold feeling she had on the trail. Workers stopped what they were doing and looked at her with curiosity, but not unkindly. Some nodded to Holt, showing respect. Holt placed his large hand lightly on Lyra's shoulder. "Let's get you cleaned up and fed," he said. "You must be hungry." She nodded again, her voice too soft to answer. He guided her inside the barn, where warm air blew through vents. A woman in a clean working uniform approached with a friendly smile. "Holt, who's this young one?" she asked. "Found her on the trail?" Holt said. "Storm almost caught her. She needs rest." The woman nodded with understanding. She brought warm food, a soft blanket, and a cup of herbal drink. Lyra sat on a small bench and ate slowly, savoring every bite. Her body relaxed with each sip. Holt watched from a short distance, arms crossed, eyes thoughtful. He could see the tiredness in her shoulders, the quiet fear in her movements. She was a child who had learned not to expect kindness. That alone made his chest tighten. When she finished eating, Holt approached again and knelt beside her. "If you want," he said softly, "you can stay here until we find out what happened." "I won't let anything happen to you." Lyra looked at him, unsure if she had heard correctly. She had never heard such words from an adult since her father. Her eyes grew wet, but she blinked fast to hide it. "Thank you," she whispered. Night settled over the ranch. The sky turned soft and calm. Holt guided her to a small guest room inside the ranch house. It had a clean bed, warm light, and a window showing the open fields under the fading sun. Lyra sat on the bed and looked outside. The ranch was peaceful. Workers returned home, machines powered down, and the skies turned purple and blue. Lyra woke up early the next morning. Soft sunlight entered the small room through the window, warming the wooden floor. For a moment she did not remember where she was. The peaceful feeling was new to her. Then she remembered the storm, the trail, the hover horse, and Holt Merrick's calm voice telling her she was safe. She sat up slowly and looked outside. Workers were already in the fields, moving machines with steady hands, and robots glided across the grass like silent helpers. The ranch looked almost like a small world of its own, full of order and life. She washed her face and opened the door. A warm smell drifted through the hallway, fresh bread. Something cooking, something safe. When she reached the kitchen, the same friendly woman she had seen yesterday greeted her with a bright smile. "Good morning, Lyra. Did you sleep well?" Lyra nodded shyly. She still did not know how to act when someone spoke kindly to her. The woman placed a plate of warm food on the table. Lyra sat down and ate slowly, still surprised that she did not have to rush or hide her hunger. The woman introduced herself as Mara, one of the ranch caretakers. She seemed to understand that Lyra was nervous, so she spoke gently, asking simple questions and smiling often. A few minutes later, Holt walked into the kitchen. His steps were firm, but his expression was calm as always. He wore a clean work coat, ready for another full day on the ranch. "Morning, little one," he said as he took a seat at the table. "Seems like you slept well?"
Yes.
Lyra answered softly. "Thank you," Holt nodded. "Good. When you finish eating, I'll show you around. There's plenty to see." Lyra looked down at her plate, then up at him again. "Do I stay here today?" "You stay here as long as you need," Holt replied. "I want to make sure you're safe." His voice carried no pressure, only truth. Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest. She finished her breakfast quietly and followed Holt outside. The ranch looked even bigger now that she was walking through it. Machines buzzed softly, drones moved in neat lines, and hover horses waited near the fences. Workers greeted Holt with respectful nods. Some looked at Lyra with kind curiosity. Holt pointed toward the hills. "The ranch spreads far across those fields. My father built the first section. I expanded it over the years." Lyra listened carefully. She liked hearing people talk about building things, creating things. It felt different from the life she knew as they walked. Holt introduced her to the workers. Everyone treated her with simple kindness. No one asked too many questions. No one looked annoyed by her presence. For a child who had spent so much time feeling unwanted, this quiet acceptance felt strange and comforting at the same time. Later, Holt brought her to a wide workshop area filled with tools, screens, and small machines floating on magnetic pads. Lyra's eyes widened. She loved machines. She had always liked watching them whenever she could, though her stepmother rarely allowed her to go near anything interesting. "This is where we fix things," Holt said. "Robots, equipment, engines. It's one of the busiest places." Lyra stepped closer to a disassembled drone. Its parts were spread out neatly on a table. She looked at them with interest. Holt noticed the focus in her eyes. "You like machines?" She nodded slowly. "Like how they work." She paused, unsure if she should continue. "I watch them. Sometimes I understand what is broken even if no one tells me." Holt raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Really?" Lyra glanced up at him, nervous. "Maybe." Holt called one of his engineers, a tall man named Rian. Show her something simple, Holt said. Let's see what she does. Rian placed a small cleaning drone on the table. This one isn't turning on, he explained. We think something is loose inside. Lyra hesitated. She looked at Holt, then at the drone. Can I touch it? Go ahead, Holt said. She picked up the drone carefully and examined the small screws and wires. Her fingers moved lightly but confidently. After a few seconds, she found a tiny wire disconnected near the internal battery. She reattached it gently and placed the drone back on its stand. Rian pressed the power button. The drone lit up and lifted into the air with a soft hum. Rian looked at Holt in surprise. She saw it in seconds. Holt smiled with quiet pride, though he did not show it too strongly. Lyra stepped back, unsure if she had done something wrong. You did well, Holt said. Very well. For the rest of the morning, Holt showed her different parts of the ranch. Lyra learned quickly. Workers noticed her sharp eyes and her calm way of studying things. Holt realized she had a natural skill, something rare, something valuable, something her stepmother had never seen or never cared to see. By midday, clouds gathered in the sky, but the weather stayed calm. Holt brought Lyra inside the main ranch house for lunch. She ate quietly, still unsure if she truly belonged there, even if everything felt safe, but the peaceful feeling did not last long. Later that afternoon, a ranch worker approached Holt with a serious expression. Holt, he said, you should see this. The town sent a message. Holt took the small screen offered to him. He read the message silently. His jaw tightened. Lyra noticed the small change in his expression and felt a new worry rise in her chest. What is it? She asked softly. Holt put the screen down and looked at her. Your stepmother went to the town council, he said. She reported that you ran away. She claims I found you and kept you here without her permission. Lyra's heart sank. She shook her head quickly, panic rising in her eyes. I didn't run away. She left me. On the trail, she didn't even look back. I know, Holt said calmly. You don't need to worry. I believe you. But Lyra's hands trembled. She was scared the lies would win again. She had seen how adults believed her stepmother in the past. She had seen how people dismissed her quiet voice. She feared the same thing would happen again. We will go to town tomorrow, Holt said. We'll speak to the council. You will tell them everything. I'll be there with you. Lyra swallowed hard. She did not want to face her stepmother. She did not want to speak in front of strangers. But when she looked at Holt, she felt strength bloom inside her. His steady presence made her believe she could try. That night, she could not sleep easily. She kept thinking of her stepmother's angry eyes, her harsh voice, her cold treatment. She remembered being left behind on the trail. The fear came back again and again. But each time the fear arose, she remembered Holt lifting her onto the hover horse. She remembered his promise, I won't let anything happen to you. That memory helped her breathe. The next morning, Holt prepared the hover horse for the trip. Lyra climbed on behind him, holding gently to the back of his coat. The sky was clear, and the ranch slowly disappeared behind them as they rode toward town. When they reached the town center, people stared with curiosity. Everyone knew Holt Merrick. Everyone wondered who the small girl with him was. Holt guided her gently toward the council building, a tall structure with clean metal walls. Inside, several council members sat behind a long table. Lyra felt small as she walked into the room, but Holt placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. The council leader spoke first. Holt Merrick, thank you for coming. We received a report from a woman claiming this girl is her stepchild. She says the girl ran away from home. Holt spoke clearly, his voice steady. The report is false. I found the child alone on the trail during a sandstorm. No guardian should leave a child behind in such weather. Lyra did not run away. She was abandoned. Council members looked at Lyra. Is this true? One of them asked gently. Lyra took a deep breath. Her hands were cold. She looked at Holt, who nodded slightly. She turned back to the council. Yes, she said. Her voice was small, but clear. She left me on the trail. I followed the wagon, but she drove faster. I called her, but she didn't stop. Then the storm came, and I was alone. A soft wave of murmurs passed around the room. Before anyone could ask another question, the doors opened. Lyra's stepmother walked in quickly, her face stiff and her voice sharp. "That is not true," she said. "She is lying. She always lies. She ran away because she didn't want to work. I came here to bring her back." Holt turned to face her, calm but firm. "A child does not lie about being left in a storm, and you chose to report her missing only after I found her. That speaks for itself." The council members exchanged looks. One of them leaned forward. "Several travelers reported seeing your wagon moving fast on the trail yesterday. They say the child was far behind you during a rising storm. Why did you not stop?" The stepmother's expression changed. She hesitated. Her answer was unsure and weak. "I thought she was keeping up. Witnesses say you looked back," another council member added quietly. The room fell silent. The stepmother opened her mouth, then closed it again. She had no answer. Holt stood tall and steady, his presence unshakable. Lyra stood beside him, her fear slowly fading. Finally, the council leader spoke. "Lyra's safety comes first. After hearing both sides and considering the reports, we believe the child was not cared for properly. She will not be returned to you." Lyra felt her knees weaken in relief. The council leader turned to Holt. "If you are willing, Holt Merrick, the child can stay under your guardianship. You have a trusted name, and she appears comfortable with you." Holt nodded without hesitation. "I will take responsibility for her." Lyra's breath caught. She looked up at Holt with wide eyes. He looked back at her with a soft, reassuring expression. The stepmother left the room angrily, but Lyra did not watch her go. She kept her eyes on Holt.